Three people. Three people who have been circling you like vultures, waiting for something to awaken, something to break, something they could finally sink their teeth into. That's who we are talking about today. And here's what nobody's told you yet. They are not just in trouble, they are in karmic trouble. The kind that doesn't knock, the kind that shows up unannounced and rewrites everything they thought they knew they were getting away with. You have felt it though, haven't you? That subtle shift in the air when you walk into a room and suddenly the temperature drops a few degrees. Conversation that stop right as you approach. The way certain people's energy shifts the second you are in their orbit, not toward warmth, but towards something colder, more calculated. You felt it in your gut, that uneasy tug that tells you something's off, something's different, even when you cannot put your finger on what. And you have probably told yourself you were imagining it, that you are being paranoid, that not everyone is out to get you. But the thing about your intuition, it doesn't lie. It might get muffled by logic or drowned out by your own self-doubt. But it's always been there, quietly whispering the truth you've been too afraid to face. So let's face it now. 3 individuals have been actively working against you. Not passively, not accidentally. We're not talking about people who just don't like you and keep their distance. We're talking about calculated, deliberate effort, coordinated effort. They have been sharing information about you, comparing notes, strategizing. They have been playing a long game and they thought they were winning. Yeah, they thought they were winning. But here's where it gets even more layered. Because these are not strangers. These are people you have known, people you've smiled, who smiled at you, shared meals with you, maybe even called themselves your friends. That's what makes this sting in a way that's almost impossible to articulate. Because there's nothing quite like the weight of betrayal from someone you let in, someone you trusted with your vulnerabilities, someone you believed was on your side. But that's what makes them so dangerous. They had access. They knew where you were soft. They knew your insecurities, your fears, your triggers. And they catalog every single one of them like a blueprint. And now you might be wondering what exactly they have been plotting. And the truth is, it's been layered. Some of it has been about your reputation, spreading subtle rumors, planting seeds of doubt in other people's minds about your character, your competence, your reliability. They didn't come out and say, this person's terrible. Yeah, that would have been too obvious, too easy to trace back. Instead, they worked in silence, in calculated silences, in "I'm just what everyone's thinking" kind of comments. They've been positioning themselves as the reasonable ones, while painting you as unpredictable, as the one who are concerned, while framing you as someone who cannot be counted on. And some of their plotting has been about your relationships, trying to create distance between you and the people who genuinely see you, planting seeds of doubt in your partnerships, your friendships, your professional connections. They have been slowly, methodically trying to isolate you without you even realizing it's happening. But here is what they didn't see coming. They didn't account for the fact that karma is not just a concept. It's a force. It's not punishment. It's not vengeance. It's balance. And balance is inevitable. You have been feeling the weight of their efforts, haven't you? The heaviness that's been following you around, the sense that something blocking your path even when everything looks fine on the surface. That's the energy they have been throwing at you. But here is what they forgot. When you throw negativity at someone who's anchored in their own integrity, it doesn't land the way they think it will. It bounces. And often it bounces right back to where it came from. Always, actually. And right now, that bounce is happening in ways they never articulated. Because everything they have been doing in secret is starting to surface. The pieces of puzzle that they thought were hidden, they are coming into view. People are connecting dots they didn't even know existed. And what's emerging is a picture that looks nothing like what they intended. You see, there is a strange thing that happens when people plot against someone who's fundamentally authentic. The scheming itself reveals more about the schemer than it ever could about the target. Their actions, their words, their desperate attempts to control the narrative, it all becomes a window into their own insecurities, their own fears, their own unhealed wounds. And that's what's happening now. The people who have been watching from the sidelines are starting to see through the performance. They are noticing the inconsistencies, the overcompensation, the way these three individuals seem to bring up your name a little too often, the way they seem a little too invested in how people perceive you, the way their stories, half-truths, shift with slightly depending on who they're talking to. It's all becoming visible. And here's the part that they didn't really see coming. The people who were supposed to rally around them are rallying around you instead. Not because you asked them to, not because you orchestrated anything, but because authenticity is magnetic. And when people see someone being systematically targeted simply for being themselves, for being good, for being kind, for showing up with integrity, they recognize injustice and they respond to it. It's just a matter of time. So while these three individuals were busy gathering what they thought was an army of supporters, they were actually building a foundation that was about to crumble beneath them because the people they recruited were not truly loyal to them. They were loyal to gossip, to drama, to their temporary high of feeling included in something secret. But when the truth starts emerging, when the real story begins to unfold, those people don't stick around, they scatter, they distance themselves. They start remembering that they actually liked you all along. And that's when the tables turn. The very energy they tried to create, the narrative they tried to wave, it's not just failing, it's backfiring spectacularly. People are not just not buying into their version of events. They are actively pushing back against it. They are defending you, speaking up for you, calling out the inconsistencies they have been noticing all along, but were too polite to mention. Here is where it gets even more satisfying. The more these three individuals try to dig themselves out, the deeper they sink. Every attempt to clarify, to explain, to reframe, it just adds more fuel to the fire, because once the truth starts moving, you cannot stop it. You cannot outrun it. You cannot spin it. All you can do is watch it unfold and deal with the consequences. Right now, the pressure is building for them in ways they cannot control. The plans they thought were airtight are developing cracks. The alliances they thought were solid are revealing themselves to be anything but. The narrative they constructed so carefully is unraveling at the seams. And you are rising. You are rising not because you fought them, not because you played their game, but because you didn't, because you stayed in your lane, because you kept showing up as yourself, even when it would have been so easier to shrink. Because you refused to let their energy determine your direction. That's the part that really gets to them. That's what's really eating them up inside. They put all this effort into dimming your light, and all they accomplished was making it brighter. They threw everything they had at you, and you just kept moving forward, kept growing, kept becoming more of who you actually are. And now they are watching you thrive while they are stuck in their mess they created for themselves. That's karmic trouble. Not in some mystical or otherworldly sense, but in the very real, very practical sense that the energy you put out always finds its way back to you. Every whispered rumor, every calculated slide, every secret meeting, every time they smile at you while holding a knife behind their back, it's all coming home to roost. And they know it. Now they know it. That's what's so unsettling for them right now. They can feel it. The walls closing in, the subtle shift in how people look at them, the sideways glances, the conversation that stop when they walk into a room instead of when you do. The isolation they tried to create for you is now their reality. And let's be clear about something, about what this doesn't mean. This isn't about revenge. It's not about gloating. It's not about anyone else's downfall. What it's actually about is this. The truth has a way of surfacing, not because it's vindictive, but because it's structurally impossible to suppress forever. Think about it this way. You can build a dam to redirect a river, but eventually the water finds its way through. It doesn't hate the dam. It doesn't want to punish anyone. It just follows its nature. And the truth is the same way. It doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't seek retribution. It just keeps flowing until it reaches the surface. And right now, the truth about what these three people have been doing is reaching the surface. You are starting to see it in small ways. A friend who seems more defensive than usual when they bring up one of those names. A coworker who's suddenly more interested in what you have to say. An opportunity that opens up out of nowhere. One that these people probably thought they'd blocked off. It's all connected. Every single piece of it. And this is the moment where you get to make a decision. Not about them. That part is already handled. The decision is about you, about what you do with the energy. Energy that's being freed up now that their influence is unraveling. Because here is what happens when you have been under attack for a long time. You get used to living small. You get used to operating in a way that doesn't trigger more attention. You get used to staying in the background, not making waves, not being too visible, not being too successful. You learn to manage your light so you don't provoke people who are threatened by it. And that's the part that's about to shift, because the very thing they were trying to suppress, your power, your presence, your unique way of showing up in the world, that's exactly what's about to be unleashed. Not because anyone gave you permission, not because the obstacles were removed, but because you never really lost it. You just learned to hold it in a little more carefully. But now, with their hold awakening, that energy is starting to expand again, naturally, organically, without you even trying. And it feels like a relief, doesn't it? That heaviness you've been carrying, that sense that you had to be careful, had to watch your back, had to think twice before everything you said or did. It's starting to lift. Not all at once, but in layers, in ways you are only beginning to notice. And as it lifts, you are going to start seeing things more clearly. The way you have been holding yourself back, the opportunities you've been passing up because you didn't want to attract attention, the relationships you've been keeping at arm's length because you were afraid of what might happen if you got too close. All of that is about to change. Because when the people who were trying to control you lose their grip, what's left is you. Just you. With all your strength and your quirks and your unique way of being in the world, without anyone else's narrative running interference. Without any else's agenda shaping how you show up. That's what's waiting for you on the other side of this. Liana, calm down. But here is the thing about that kind of freedom. it comes with a responsibility, the responsibility to actually take up space, to actually use the voice you have been suppressing, to actually step into the version of yourself that you have always known was there, but never quite trusted enough to let out. And that's the part that might feel uncomfortable at first, because when you have been under someone else's thumb for a while, even when the thumb is removed, you can still feel the imprint. You can still find yourself shrinking out of habit, playing small out of memory, keeping quiet out of reflex. But the more you practice stepping into your full self, the more natural it starts to feel. And the more natural it feels, the less power those old patterns have over you. Here is the truth that those three individuals never understood. Your power was never about what they could take from you. It was never about what they could destroy or undermine. It was always about something much deeper, something they couldn't touch, no matter how hard they tried. It was about your integrity, about your ability to stay true to who you are, even when it would have been easier to compromise. About your capacity to keep showing up with kindness and generosity, even when people didn't deserve it. About the unwavering sense of purpose that they could see but never replicate. That's what they were really threatened by. Not your success, not your relationships, not your reputation, but the fact that you were real in a world where they had to work so hard to pretend. And that's why this moment matters so much. Not because they are getting what's coming to them. That's just a side effect. But because you are getting what's coming to you. The recognition, the support. The space to finally become everything you were always meant to be. The people who really see you, your tribe, are starting to show up in more visible ways. Not just silently rooting for you, but actively standing beside you. They are speaking up when they hear your name being dragged through the mud. They are reaching out to check on you. They are creating opportunities for you to step into spaces that were previously closed off. And with each act of support, the narrative that those three people tried to build gets a little weaker, a little more irrelevant, a little more obviously false. And as it crumbles, you are not just surviving, you are thriving. Not to prove anything to them, not because you are trying to show anyone up, but because that's what happens when the pressure releases, when the obstacles move, when the air clears, and you can finally breathe again. You start to realize that this whole experience, every second of it, has been preparing you for something bigger, something you couldn't have accessed without going through exactly what you went through. Not because hardship is good itself, but because it reveals things about you that comfort never could. It shows you your own resilience, your own capacity to keep going when everything inside you wants to stop. Those three people wanted to break you. But what they actually did was show you exactly how unbreakable you are. And now as they face the consequences of their own choices, there is a strange sense of freedom in it. Yeah, not because they are suffering. That's not the point at all. But because the truth is finally allowed to stand on its own 2 feet, without their manipulation muddying the water, without their lies complicating the story. You get to just be who you are, and that's enough. So here is what this moment asks of you. Don't waste it. Don't let the relief of being freed from their influence make you complacent. Don't let the anger or resentment settle into your bones and stay there. Use this energy, use this momentum, use this clarity to do what you have been waiting to do, but felt too held back to attempt. Because those 3 people, they are not the end of your story. They were never meant to be. They were just a chapter. A difficult, painful, exhausting chapter that you had to live through to get to the part that matters. And now you are here, at the beginning of something new, at the threshold of a version of yourself that you have only caught glimpses of. And the only thing left to do is to walk through it. Not because you have something to prove to them, not because you want to show them that they missed, but because you owe it to yourself, because you have carried this weight long enough, because the life that's waiting for you on the other side of this, the one where you are not constantly looking over your shoulder, not constantly calculating the cost of your own success, not constantly dimming your light to keep others comfortable. That life is yours for them taking, and all you have to do is step into it. This is your moment, because this is your moment. Not theirs. Not theirs. The karma that's coming for them is not about you. It's about the energy they put into the world, the universe, and what the world does with it. It's about the loss of cause and effect that govern everything from the smallest interaction to the grandest arc of human existence. And those laws are working in your favor now, not because you are special, but because you are aligned. Not because you are perfect, nobody's perfect, but because you are real. That's rare. And reality, in the end, always wins, always. So go ahead, unfold your wings, step into the light, take up the space you've been hesitating to claim. The people who plotted against you are in big karmic trouble. But you are free. You are free. You have freedom.